So I recently played through the first 5 chapters of The Evil Within.
Lucky.
When I went into it, I expected a certain kind of horror game, a blending of maybe Res Evil with a more kind of grotesque horror. You know, when I first saw the game, it had there were these live-action movies that they released that almost looked like Saw.
Yeah, I remember
with
those.
Like demons, but it was like bloody.
Didn't get me that excited because it's just sort of like, well, this is sort of like B horror. I think that sort of set the tone for what I expected going into it too. Just like, yeah, Saw, kind of just gory.
But that's not the case.
No.
The game is very different, and that's kind of what makes it unique and really exciting because it kind of blends all these different genres of horror. Something you pointed out to me was you saw stuff from Western, Eastern, ghosts. Psychological horror plays a big role in it.
Yeah, one moment you'll be like, there was a dude with an axe with like a spike impaled in his head chasing you, and then another time there'll be like a ghost like stalking you through a mansion.
And just from that, all bets are kind of off with that game. Like, it's not like Res Evil where you see a window and you can maybe expect something's going to jump through it, or there might be a zombie that slaps it to maybe give you a jump scare. Any step you make in this game, your foot might go through the ground, you might be falling endlessly, the camera might start spinning, you might end up in a different plane of reality.
You might turn around and suddenly what was there is gone, or something else.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments in the time I got to play it, there was this room I walked into and it was just all dirty bathroom tile all the way around it. And as soon as I got in, the door closed behind me and there's nothing in front of me, it's just all this white tile. It definitely goes into the realm of crazy psychological horror, very Eternal Darkness-esque in messing with your mind, throwing visuals in front of you that you can't really comprehend that are kind of scary, and then switching it back to just normality. Like, you're back, you're safe, but you know you really aren't. The way it kind of works is with these different realities shifting, you feel connected to all of them at certain points.
It seems like it's going even further in that direction that came to be the trademark of the Silent Hill series, where it's like slowly things are falling apart a little bit and there's this natural degradation, a sort of like Jacob's Ladder style descent into some weird hell world. And Silent Hill is always predictable with that kind of like, oh, here I heard the you know, the air raid siren and stuff, and now I know it's going to get bad. But Evil Within, based on what I played too and what I've read of what you checked out, it just seems like there's no predicting it. It's just going to happen. Suddenly a lady is going to crawl out of the ground from a blood geyser and start chasing you, and you could never see that coming. You
know, they have all these, like I brought up Eternal Darkness, you brought up Silent Hill. I saw elements of Manhunt where it was very stealth-based, and there was also some stuff that reminded me of like the classic Resident Evils, Resident Evil 4. All these horror genres were kind of stacked on top of each other, but it doesn't feel like kind of a greatest hits going through these different games. It all really kind of fits into their world that they've created, this reality that you're in, and it kind of flows seamlessly, and that's kind of what makes it scary too, in that regard of you just really, you know, to reiterate this, never know what's going to happen in that game. It does play with his mind and your mind as it goes through it. Is it grounded in reality, or is this guy just losing his mind? I guess we probably won't know until the end, but that's what makes the game so exciting. Just right out of the gate, you're just kind of thrown into this really kind of cool mystery. I know Mikami is a huge horror fan, and it's just fun seeing all the different shades of his influences in that game. Like, here are zombies, and here is a giant sort of like Jason Voorhees lug chasing you through, like the butcher type dude, and then here's a lady that looks like a more messed up version of Samara from The Ring, you know? And you're seeing all these things sort of combine, and like you were saying, it seems like a really like smooth combination of those things, and that's all wrapped around like the Resident Evil 4 style gameplay, because this is Mikami. He made Resident Evil 4. It's so cool as a fan of that series to have like this almost alternate dimension where it's like, well, what if he kept on making Resident Evil games and it didn't go action? They actually doubled down on horror and said Resident Evil 4 is fun, but there's almost too much crazy action, and we want to try to scare people again. Did you feel like at the core that you were having fun with the gameplay and it was like as solid as Resident Evil 4? Or maybe Dead Space is a better comparison because you can like move and shoot? I think it's a pretty good hybrid of those two games. It really did remind me a lot of Resident Evil 4, especially when most of the game I played was linear, kind of pulling you through this really cinematic experience. But then it would open up in areas in cities or villages, very much like the beginning of Resident Evil 4. The village scene with the chainsaw guy, and where you're kind of plotting your own course through it and determining, should I use stealth or should I just kind of run and gun through it? There's just way more complexity to this game, when even down to like scavenging for items and trying to make bolts for your crossbow as sort of your last ditch effort tool. So Last of Us is a modern game that was really light on ammo and resources and stuff, and you felt that like, oh, I got some more bullets and stuff like that. Did you feel like this was in that realm or even more scarce? Or? Yeah, as I was playing through the game, It felt like I had a lot of ammo and I was
Okay.
doing really well, but then I'd get into these pockets where I'd be going against like invisible enemies.
Invisible enemies.
Invisible, yeah. Audio is such a huge part of this
Yeah.
game, and it is so well done. I really started to panic. Okay, I'm gonna need help here. I need bullets. And help comes in different ways. You can find keys in the environment that you can unlock in your safe house, which will give you bonus ammo, or you will have AI companions with you, and they're actually good. You know, these
They actually
characters
like help you out? and shoot
yeah,
guys?
these characters are actually resourceful. They can take down enemies. It's not just like they're firing shots.
Okay.
And maybe they're hitting, but the enemies aren't taking damage like you see all too often in games. They will drop enemies for you, so you can kind of use them as your weapon, so to speak, if you are out of ammo.
This isn't like a Sheva Alomar situation where she's eating into your ammo supplies or anything,
No,
is she? Okay,
no,
good.
yeah, they're independent. You will have to heal them if they go down, but they can kind of take the edge off the horror and scares and just that uncomfortable feeling of not having enough resources. You can kind of like save your supplies and maybe let them, maybe they'll take some damage, but let them take the charge, and then you kind of hang back and gather for the next big encounter.
And maybe that sets you up for when you don't have them and suddenly you feel even more isolated.
Right.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, the game comes out soon, and this is gonna be one of those games you don't want to go on the internet for. You're not gonna want to have it spoiled. I think the mystery is gonna be a big part of it. You know, that's probably the biggest part of the experience. The gameplay is really fun, but just trying to figure out what's going on and wrap your brain around all these different types of horrors, that's what this experience is about.
I will be sequestering myself in my house, turning off all the lights, and playing it by myself all night as soon as it's out. I cannot wait.